The Indian government has notified the New Drugs and Clinical Trials Rules, 2019. They shall come into force from 19th of March, 2019 except Chapter 4 which shall come into force after 180 days. The aim is to promote clinical research in India, have predictable, transparent and effective regulations for such trials and also make faster accessibility of new drugs to the Indian population. They shall apply to all new drugs, investigational new drugs for human use, clinical trial, bioequivalence study, bioavailability study and ethics committee. New Drugs and Clinical Trials Rules, 2019 contains 13 chapters.
Chapter 1 says the preliminary information. Chapter 2 gives the details of authorities and officers. Chapter 3 provides the requirements of Ethics Committee for clinical trials, bioavailability and bioequivalence study. Chapter 4 speaks about Ethics Committee for biomedical and health research. Chapter 5 Part 2 provides the rules for clinical trials of new drugs and investigational new drugs. Part B is about bioavailability and bioequivalence study. Chapter 6 provides the requirements of compensation. Chapter 7 is for bioavailability and bioequivalence study center.
Chapter 8 speaks about the manufacture of new drugs or investigational new drugs for clinical trial, BA/B study or for examination, test, and analysis. Chapter 9 details the requirements for import of new drugs and investigational new drugs for clinical trial, BA/B study or for examination, test, and analysis. Chapter 10 provides the rules of import or manufacture of new drug for sale or for distribution. Chapter 11 says about import or manufacture of unapproved new drug for treatment of patients in government hospital and government medical institution. Chapter 12 informs the amendments of Drugs and Cosmetics Rules, 1945. Chapter 13 gives the miscellaneous details. This rules also consists of 8 schedules. First schedule, General Principles and Practices for Clinical Trial. Second schedule, Requirements and Guidelines for Permission to Import or Manufacture of New Drug for Sale or to Undertake Clinical Trial. Third schedule, Conduct of Clinical Trial. Fourth schedule, Requirements and Guidelines for Conduct of Bioavailability and Bioequivalence Study of New Drugs or Investigational New Drugs. Fifth schedule, Post-Market Assessment. Sixth schedule, Fee payable for license, permission, and registration certificate. Seventh schedule, Formulae to determine the quantum of compensation in the cases of clinical trial-related injury or death. Eighth schedule, Forms. The highlights of New Drugs and Clinical Trials Rules, 2019. Requirement of local clinical trials has also been waived off for the drugs approved and marketed in countries specified by the CLA, provided clinical trials included Indian patients and if no major unexpected serious adverse events have been reported. It has reduced the time for approving applications to 30 days for drugs manufactured in India and 90 days for those developed outside the country. The rules stated that in case of no communication from Drugs Controller General of India, the application will be deemed to have been approved. The government also made it mandatory for firms to provide medical management as long as required, or till such time it is established that the injury is not related to the clinical trial. If you have any queries, please mail to farmerbells@gmail.com. Subscribe to Farmer Bells to get all the posts.